Welcome to a new episode of Delphine Circle, where we uncover the mind, body, and spirit of success. Subscribe now for free to receive updates on the latest interviews. Then, sit back, relax, and tune in.
I got a hydrogen water bottle. That's an Echo Go.
I love this stuff.
Echo Plus infuses water with hydrogen, ionizing your water. I love this little guy.
I just use this hydrogen bottle and I take it literally everywhere I go.
It's a hydrogen water infuser and basically just puts hydrogen ions in the water.
It is now getting infused with healthy, beautiful hydrogen.
Why do you think hydrogen water is like the best? Hydrogen water is the best water you can put in the human body. That little thing that I gave you right there, that's from Echo H2O Echo Water. Hit that little button and it adds hydrogen ions. There are 1,400 studies on the positive impact of hydrogen on human beings. They're looking at it for things like Parkinson's and neurodegenerative disorders, but it helps you digest food. It helps you break down your supplements. You let me know how you feel in a few weeks. Yeah, it's a game.
Hi, Dr. Paul, and welcome to the Circle.
Well, thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Well, I'm so happy to have you here. We got to meet recently when I met you at a Dr. Fab Life event in Beverly Hills. That was so fun. You were a presenter there. I also got to get one of your home systems, which I'll show and we'll talk a little bit about later,
Awesome.
But loving it so far.
Thanks.
So let me, for our audience, do a formal introduction. You are Dr. Paul Barattiero, founder of Echo Water and the undisputed leader of hydrogen therapy.
That's right.
In addition to Echo, you're also the founder of Luminova, a red light therapy company as well.
Yep.
You're also a doctor of naturopathic medicine from Trinity University, as well as currently working on your PhD of integrative medicine from Quantum University.
Yep.
You hold a number of natural health certifications in addition to that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you love Quantum University?
I do. The gentleman, Paul Druin, who started, is a great man from Canada, wonderful MD, and just wanted to have quantum things put into medicine. I love that.
Well, I have so many friends. I have my girlfriend's Salme Klaus, who's been on the show. She's currently a student there. And I know Dr. Patrick Porter is on the faculty.
That's right.
There as well. So yeah, very cool. Maybe I'll get my a degree there at some point.
Yeah.
You have no idea how much I've been looking forward to this interview. One, because I got the system.
Mm-hmm.
And two, because hydrogen water is literally the fastest growing trend in health and wellness. Everywhere you go, people are talking about it. And in a major part because of you and Echo Water.
Right.
So kudos to you.
Thank you.
First of all, explain, what is hydrogen water?
So hydrogen water is where you take water, H2O, and this is one of the biggest questions we get and one of the biggest misunderstandings. People say, well, isn't hydrogen already in water? And the answer is no. Yes, the constituent elements or what makes up water is H2O, which is hydrogen and oxygen gas, but when they combine, they form a liquid. So you no longer have a gas, and the body needs the gas to have the benefit. So once water is a liquid, you're not going to have access to hydrogen gas any longer, and so you don't get those benefits. So
it doesn't become H3O?
No. Yeah, it doesn't combine.
Okay.
What we have is H2O liquid and then H2 gas dissolved in the water. So you have a gas inside of water, and that gas, the H2 gas, is what is beneficial.
Wonderful. What are the benefits of it?
So there's many and way too much. We could spend 10 hours, but let's talk about the first few. Hydrogen is responsible for managing oxidation and inflammation. Now, normally our bodies would produce hydrogen on their own. That's the design. We have flatulence, right? And part of flatulence is hydrogen, methane, and some other things depending on diet. But hydrogen is necessary for every function in the human body. If we go down to what our body's made of, it's carbon-hydrogen chains, right? Everything is carbon-hydrogen chains in our system. Even stomach acid, HCl. You need hydrogen to form hydrochloric acid, right? So you can't even make stomach acid without hydrogen. So hydrogen is necessary for everything. So we naturally would produce 10 to 12 liters of hydrogen gas per day through fermenting food, digesting food in our intestinal tract, particularly the colon. But because of gut damage, we lose that ability partially or fully because of gut damage. So the reason I developed the system way back was to help everyone, because 90+% of the population have gut dysfunction, to actually have their body functioning again. So naturally, when we would be producing hydrogen in the body, it would keep oxidation in a normal range so that we would not have oxidative stress. And once we have oxidative stress, then of course inflammation as a result of the body trying to fix that issue. So oxidative stress and chronic inflammation, the combination of those two things is the leading cause of disease, all disease. So hydrogen's there really to prevent disease in our body. And so when we have gut damage, we lose that ability naturally to prevent disease models and other issues. So that's primarily. Next would be like brain, right? Neuroprotective effects of hydrogen. So people don't want Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, a lot of ADHD, ADD. It's issues in the brain. Hydrogen would normally stimulate gastric ghrelin. Ghrelin is a master hormone along with leptin. And so ghrelin will go to the hippocampus, the hypothalamus, and the brainstem. And you can only produce ghrelin in the intestinal tract or the stomach. And so hydrogen is necessary for that process. So that's second. So first is preventing disease. Second would be neuroprotective effects or brain function. And then the next would be mitochondrial function. Major issue with mitochondrial function and having ATP produced and not feeling tired all the time and not having fatigue and all these kind of things. So there's three main things that are happening. And when we talk about the gut, it's understood or believed or accepted that 70% of immune function is tied to gut health. And so it's really important that we have hydrogen, really important that the gut is working properly, really important that all of those things are happening. So when we lose that ability, we lose the ability for the brain to function properly. We lose the ability to be more or less susceptible to disease models and issues, arthritis, all these kind of things all come from oxidative stress and inflammation.
Wow, when you were saying that, it really a bell went off in my head because my son has suffered with IBS. And he has gotten better, but since then he's been having kind of a chronic fatigue issue. So I wonder if those two are related. Maybe he's not getting enough hydrogen in his brain.
Yeah. Well, and we don't need hydrogen in the brain, but it's ghrelin secretions that will go to the brain because hydrogen will signal or selectively stimulate gastric ghrelin.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I come from the cosmetic world, and we always talk about free radicals and antioxidants because they say it's probably the number one reason for aging, right? Or the effects of aging. So would this also help with the types of things that people are working on with cosmetic products to try to slow the aging process?
Yes. If you're consuming hydrogen water, it'll affect collagen in the skin and it'll soften the skin. And some people spritz with the hydrogen water or we have a bath unit that people will take a bath, and then that's going to soften the skin and stimulate collagen in the skin so you don't have wrinkles and stuff. So a lot of people do use hydrogen water either in bath or drinking or both to be able to have them look the best they can.
I love that.
So yeah, aesthetics is a big part. We do have a lot of spas that use the water, sell the bottles to people that are wanting to look the best they can. So you definitely will have a difference in the way the skin appears because two reasons. A, you're going to have collagen and that's going to be great to have softer, supple skin. Second, digestion overall is going to increase. And when you're assimilating the food you're eating properly and fermenting the food properly, your body is much, much better off. You won't look the way a lot of people look, which is
well, it's like if the system is working properly, everything in the system works properly.
Correct.
It's like this new idea that we have to think of the whole system, the whole body, as opposed to each aspect individually, right?
Right. And then when we get to the other part, I was speaking in Pensacola Beach yesterday, and I was on stage and I said, no one's trying to lose weight. Everyone's trying to lose fat. right? Like we got to stop saying I'm trying to lose weight, because you could like cut part of your bone out and that'll lose a lot of weight, right? Like and I jokingly said, let's just get the femur, get rid of the femur, you'll lose a lot of weight, right? And everyone laughed. I said, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about fat. And what's nice is hydrogen. The Obesity magazine published a study where drinking hydrogen water has the same effect as a calorie restriction diet. And so that's really good for people. And there was another study that I shared on hip to waist ratio, so that you can see that you're reducing fat around the hips area. So again, hydrogen water is a good thing for people that are trying to be the best them. And
I don't understand. So how does hydrogen affect weight loss?
Digestion. Your gut is working properly, and you have less inflammation. So when you have inflammation, you're plumped up, right?
Okay.
So, and then also if you're not digesting food properly, then your kidneys have inflammation, all the rest of and you're not moving wastes out of the body. And the body will do a great thing and wrap waste in fat and store it away. And so when hydrogen comes in and things start working correctly, the body's like, oh, great. I can go get that stuff out of storage and put it away. So.
So how much water does somebody need to drink in order to really get the full benefits of hydrogen water?
To get the full benefits, I would say, let's say 30 ounces a day. A minimum 16 ounces, but 30 ounces a day would be great. Now, that's not enough water for proper hydration. So if people want to be properly hydrated, they need to take their body weight and divide in half, and that's how many ounces they should drink. So 100 pounds, 50 ounces, 200 pounds, 100 ounces of water. And again, if you eat a bunch of soup all day, then that's going to count as some water. So, but you do need to hydrate properly. And then not all of that water needs to be hydrogen, but there's nothing wrong with that all being hydrogen. But most people aren't drinking 100% of their water, hydrogen water.
Yeah. I just had my system installed 2 weeks ago. I'm super excited about it. But you do have a lot of different products. I mean, I know you asked me if I lived in a rental or owned my home, because you have products that can be on the counter, underneath the counter, plumbed. I did go through the plumbing, saying it was not difficult, I will admit. But you also have, I mean, we've got a couple of these things. This is next to my bed unit, so I don't have to walk all the way over to the kitchen to get my hydrogen water. I set this up at night, push the button when I wake up, and then this is my first drink of water in the morning, which I love.
Yeah, so this is the Echo Go, and this is the Go Plus. The difference is this is less expensive, but it produces less hydrogen.
Okay.
It's a great unit. It's smaller. It's compact. It can go anywhere. But this unit is just a higher end. Okay. That's all.
So it produces more of the gas.
Yeah, and both produce plenty.
Okay.
This is just a little sexier, right?
Yeah.
But that's, you push the button and, the lights come on and hydrogen bubbles go up. And in our bottle, there's a port on the bottom where oxygen and chlorine come out. The other bottles on the market that are kind of like scam bottles, they don't have that. And so they're putting chlorine in the bottle, and they're putting ozone and other things. So you don't really know what you have, and very little hydrogen. And yet they're selling them as hydrogen bottles, but there's very little hydrogen. Yesterday in Pensacola Beach at the event, I tested someone's bottle. They brought another bottle from some other company. I won't mention who, but they brought another bottle, and I said, oh, let's test for chlorine. More than in the tap water. And then he goes, and I said, oh, what water did you put in here? And he says, oh, I put in tap water, right? And I'm like, oh, you don't want to put tap water. That's not good. And he's like, okay. So then I said, let's test it though. Look how much chlorine it's putting. So then I said, okay, really the right water is to put a filtered water, like a reverse osmosis or purified water. So then we put purified water in, and it didn't make any hydrogen. I put drops in it, no hydrogen. And so I was like, this is why these bottles don't work. You can put reverse osmosis, you can put distilled water, and you'll make 4.5 parts per million of hydrogen in this bottle. And so that's the big difference.
So how do people know? Because I mean, we're gonna go on record that you make the best products for sure, but they're not the cheapest products. I mean,
well, he paid more for that bottle than ours. Really? He paid $300 for that bottle, And it wasn't doing anything but making chlorinated water for him. And he was not happy.
Oh, wow. So there's really no way you can tell just by reading this advertising or the sales.
No.
You just have to
No, because they
with
say
the
whatever
qualified.
to get you to buy it.
Right.
And then when it tastes like swamp water, it's not hydrogen water.
Yeah.
And people will go on our Facebook page and say, oh, I got scammed, you know, because they sold me this product saying it was hydrogen and there's no hydrogen in it. And it tastes gross. And so it's very sad. You know, and I can tell you that bottle that person yesterday bought for $300, it probably cost them $12 to $15 to buy them.
Wow.
Yeah. But it's a horrible bottle.
Yeah.
Now ours costs us 6 times that to make, and we sell it for less than that. And so he bought one of our bottles because, you know, clearly I showed him right in front of him.
Is there a way to test that people can test at home to see if their product? How did they do that?
There is for hydrogen, there is an H2 blue little reagent that you can drop in the water. And if there's hydrogen, it goes clear. If there's not hydrogen, it makes the water blue.
Mm.
So it's a methylene blue and a platinum colloid together. And so in the presence of hydrogen, it goes clear.
Wow.
So I actually put a drop in, it went clear, and he's like, oh, and in their water it was blue. I said, here, I'll do another drop. And it went clear again. And I said, there's tons of hydrogen. I could put, 40 plus drops in this. It would keep going clear because there's so much hydrogen in it. But
so I have a lot of methylene blue. I'm a big fan of that, but you can't just do methylene blue.
Right.
It has to be with the
it's a combination of a platinum colloid and methylene blue, but that's what H2 blue is. I don't recommend trying to make it at home. It's kind of a nasty thing.
So can you buy
the bottles just go H2 blue. They're $25 for a bottle of the H2 blue reagent.
Yeah. Can you get that on Amazon or?
Oh, I'm sure, but you can go to H2 Analytics and get it. Randy Sharp, amazing guy. Years ago, I helped develop it. Okay. Many years ago. Mm-hmm. But Randy manufactures it in Las Vegas and sells it. Great guy.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but you can. It's not accurate like gas chromatography, so it's not really good for concentration per se, but it's good to know. Like in that case, I could use a reagent and show the guy there's no hydrogen in your water and there's hydrogen in mine.
Wow, that's super awesome.
Of course, he bought a bottle, so it was great.
That's a great piece of advice for sure. So since I installed my system, I try to show and tell everybody when they come over, I'm like literally becoming like a brand ambassador. So I got to make sure I got all my facts straight.
Right.
So how long, once you've created the hydrogen water, how long does the water stay hydrogenated?
If it's in a glass like this, where it's open, it's 2 hours.
Okay.
Yeah. If it's in a bottle where you fill it up all the way and there's no airspace, like at all, it could last up to 2 weeks.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Eventually, hydrogen will go through the bottle or container, but it's not going to be quick. Okay. It's going to take a while.
So if you cap it.
Yeah. You have to fill it up all the way with no airspace and put a lid on it.
Okay.
Then it'll last. Usually you'll lose like 0.1 parts per million per day. I mean, this is not exact. It's just round numbers, but that's kind of what you can expect.
So is it okay to use hydrogen water in like machines, like your coffee maker, your filtration air filter, or iron, anything like that?
Yeah, a lot of them want distilled water, or at least reverse osmosis.
Most people are just putting tap water in their coffee maker, though, right? Or their bottled water. They're not.
Yeah. So if they're doing that, then it's fine to put the hydrogen itself won't be there. The heating up of the water, the hydrogen will be lost.
Okay.
So
cooking with it, there's not really a benefit to it.
Not when you're heating. If you're boiling the water, of course, it's going to be gone. Yeah. Yeah.
What about making ice with it?
That's great. I mean, eventually it'll go out of the ice too.
Okay.
Right. But yeah, you can do it.
What about watering your plants or feeding it to your pets?
Pets, yes. They will go to it.
Really?
Yeah. You put a bowl down of regular and put a bowl of water, they're always going to go to our water and drink that. They'll want Echo water. They know, they're smart. Plants, great. Yeah. They like it too. The hydrogen's beneficial for sure. So no problem with doing plants. Sometimes we've used acid water because of the lower pH. A lot of plants like a lower pH. So, if you were to do a higher pH water for them, it won't be beneficial to the plants. So you kind of want to look at what that plant likes from a pH perspective, and then,
decide from there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, speaking of alkaline water, I think I went through 3 Kangen machines. They tell you not to drink the alkaline water while you're eating food because of how it reduces the gastric acids in your stomach. Is there any reason to not mix hydrogen water while you're eating?
No, but I don't recommend people drink water while eating. However, probably 100% of the population drink water or wine or alcohol while eating
Well,
food.
they say wine is okay because of the higher acidic levels in it.
Yeah. The stomach is a 3. Yeah. So bile is a 1.5 pH. By the time you add gastric juice, you'll be around a 3 to 5, depending on whatever. It's pretty low. I don't think wine, I don't know what wine is, but I know it's lower than 7, so it would be an acid, but lemon juice is a 2. So
that's why they say it's okay to put lemon in your water.
Right. So I would recommend, if someone asks what's the best to do, drink water a half an hour before you're going to be eating. And that way you have hydration, because you need hydration to process food and to make fecal matter and to do all these things. So a lot of people are dehydrated. So actually what happens is when they start eating, the body starts demanding water because it's going to have a tough time processing food. But if you're properly hydrated, then you can eat without drinking anything, and the digestion is much better. So I would always say,
drink your water in the car on the way to the restaurant.
There you go. And don't eat and don't drink during the food. See how that works for people.
Yeah.
But one of the things, most people have gut issues. 90% of the population have gut dysfunction to some level. And with drinking the water with hydrogen in it, many people are saying within 2 weeks, they can eat gluten and dairy without any inflammation, and they're eating any kind of food they want. That's really, and I don't care what people eat, but I believe we should have a varied diet for our microbiome to be varied. The diversity of bacteria is really critical for us. And so mono diets are bad. We should be eating a varied diet of different things. And I would say that I don't care if someone eats gluten and dairy, but you should be able to. Your body should be able to process that. I do have ice cream sometimes, and I love it.
Me too.
I love it. And I eat everything.
Me too.
I try to eat it clean. I don't want pesticides in it. I don't want heavy metals and things like that. So I really try to eat organic, non-GMO diet. But the reality is, you should be able to eat anything you want to eat and have your body process it, because it's a fermentation process. Absolutely. But if you don't have the right bacteria, you can't. And so we want to get people to where they can.
Are there any concerns about drinking hydrogen water? Is there anything anybody needs to be worried about? Is there such a thing as drinking too much of it?
Great question. No. You currently have over 1,400 studies. There's no contraindication. There's no age group. There's no demographic. There's no... the only 2 conditions someone could have that could be a problem, if someone has H. pylori, then you'll want to get rid of that, because hydrogen can be an energy source for H. pylori. If someone has SIBO that is hydrogen-based SIBO, because you have hydrogen-based SIBO, methane-based, so if you have SIBO that's methane-based, then there's no issue. If you have SIBO that's hydrogen-based, then you'll want to start drinking small amounts of the water in the beginning, and you want to get rid of the SIBO. And people don't understand what SIBO is. SIBO is small intestinal bacteria overgrowth. What that really means is you have the right bacteria in the wrong place. So it's in the small intestine. It should be in the large intestine or the colon. And what's really happening is, if SIBO, if the version of SIBO that person has is hydrogen, then it's going to use hydrogen as an energy source, and those bacteria are going to thrive and create gas and do all the things that they do when they are fed. And so it can be painful. The small intestine is little, and you don't have room for all that. Colon is much larger, and so you have no problem with gas being produced. So that's the difference. But there are protocols, essential oils. There are protocols with antibiotics that can get rid of SIBO. And then drink as much of the water as you want. It'll fix the gut, stop the problem. If it's methane SIBO, then you can drink as much water as you want. It doesn't matter. There's no methane in the water. There's hydrogen.
But is that a very common issue, SIBO?
Oh, it's somewhat common, yeah. And again, you have either hydrogen or methane or there's even a third type. But the reality is, if it's not hydrogen SIBO, then you're fine.
Okay.
Yeah, drink as much as you want.
What about any drug interactions? Is there any drugs that you shouldn't take hydrogen water with?
No.
Wow, that's amazing. That's great.
It is. Yeah, and it won't harm any kind of drug or protocol because it's not an antioxidant like a traditional antioxidant. It's not an electron donor, and so you don't have the issue like you would with traditional antioxidants.
Something else that I've seen popping up are the hydrogen tablets, the dissolvable tablets.
Yep.
Is that something that you guys carry?
It is not. We used to way back in 2011, 2012, 2013. We were selling hydrogen tablets. I created the bottles because the tablets are expensive. They don't taste great. People don't really like the magnesium taste. They leave a film in the glass that you have to clean out or it'll grow mold. So there are issues with the tablets. They do make hydrogen. It is an appropriate way to make hydrogen. It's just really expensive. So for the price of buying a bottle like this that you're going to have for years is like 2 or 3 bottles, of the tablet. So, let's say 2 months worth of tablets or 3 months could buy you a bottle and then you have it for years. There's a 5-year warranty on this. So you'd have it for years.
So maybe you could use the tablets if you go travel or out to dinner or whatever. Yeah. Well,
this is
you may not want to carry that everywhere.
I do. I take it everywhere. And you know what people say? What is
that?
I want one. And they buy one.
Okay.
But anyways, the tablets are just expensive.
Okay.
It's 60 cents per use.
Oh, wow.
60 cents to $1. And you only have, 30 or 60 tablets. So what if you want to have hydrogen twice a day or 3 times a day?
Yeah.
You're going to use those up in 10 days and that's $50. And so this is a much better solution because you can fill it up and all you do is keep it charged, the battery. So no, but it is a way to make hydrogen. Everyone and their mother is selling them. They're all private labeled. There's nothing special about most of them, but some people don't like the taste. Some, anyways.
All right. Just another option.
Yes.
You have something that I saw on your website called Alkaline.
Yes.
It freaked me out. It looks so cool. You didn't bring it?
No.
Tell me about Alkaline and how does that work?
The Alkaline is a great device. You put tap water in it and it turns that tap water into a disinfectant. Kills E. coli, salmonella, MRSA, staph, COVID on contact. The active ingredient is hypochlorous acid, HOCl, which is 80 to 200 times more kill spectrum than bleach, but non-toxic. So people that have pink eye, people that have blepharitis or what's called chronic dry eye, acne, or any issue with the skin, you spray it right on the skin. Psoriasis, eczema, spray it on the skin. Wow. Wounds, cuts, scrapes, burns. Even people that want to clean their kitchen and have a chemical-free kitchen, you rinse your vegetables, you rinse your meats and fish and before you cook them, and you're going to kill the bacteria on there.
Wow. And so is there any additive that you have to put in addition to it? No,
you're just putting tap water. Now, if people are doing hard surfaces and they're doing black mold in a bathroom, then there's a little scooper and you can put a tiny bit of salt, like Celtic salt or a nice quality salt, put a tiny bit of salt and do it, and it'll even heighten the effect. And so then for black mold and other stuff, you can do that. Yeah. Okay. But don't put that on the body.
No.
And don't drink it when you add the salt. You can drink it when you don't add the salt. If you have abdominal cramps or strong cramps, menstrual, if you have food poisoning, other things like that.
My gosh, that sounds like a miracle.
It's amazing. And for $99, it's
Right?
pretty crazy.
Oh
Yeah.
my God, I'm getting one right away. Why didn't you sell one to me at the event?
I know.
You shared such a sweet story at the Dr. Fab event. You basically explained how you got into this and started over 20 years ago on a cruise with your wife.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So one of the, I think, greatest of compliments, beyond 12 companies, beyond all the stuff, I've been married for 30 years to the love of my life, to my queen, best friend. And the first 10 years of our marriage, she was sick. Horrible menstrual cycle. She had adenomyosis. She had thyroid issues. She had gynecological issues, miscarriages, all kinds of stuff. Just not fun for her. And each month for her menstrual cycle, we would lose her a week every month. She'd be doubled over in pain, couldn't get out of bed, anemic because she was losing over 30 ounces of blood every menstrual cycle. It was just not good. And so I wanted to do something. At that time, my world was focused on diabetes and foot and ankle, and I didn't know what to do for her. And so I was kind of talking to everybody I could, like, have you heard of anything? What can help my wife? All these and everyone kind of knew. Everyone that knew me knew that there was this issue. And so, crazy story. We had some friends that after 9/11, they had an organic food store, and we lived in Orlando. So half their business was people coming to Disney World, buying organic food from them for their condo while they were at Disney World. And so their business was in trouble because people weren't coming to Disney. And so they came and said, hey, can you help us? Is there any way you can help us financially? Because we're going to lose our business. And so we did help them. And they thought, oh, we just need 3 months of help. Well, a year later, they were still in trouble. And so I said, don't worry about the interest, for the loan, just pay back the principal, And so a year or so later they did. And so by then they were like, thank you for helping us. Our business is stabilized. Here, let's go on a cruise together to celebrate. We basically, here's your money back and let's go on a cruise. And I'm like, oh, wow, that's better. That's great. So that first day of cruise was my wife's first day of her menstrual cycle. And we were driving from Orlando down to Fort Lauderdale to get on the cruise. It was the Carnival Liberty ship, the maiden voyage from the U.S., and it was a 9-day cruise. We were so excited. It was her first day of her cycle. She was doubled over in pain in the backseat of the car, driving down to Fort Lauderdale, and got on the ship and went straight to the cabin to go to sleep. And I thought, she's not going to enjoy this cruise. She'll be in there for 7 days, right? It's just bad. Well, they brought water with them. I thought it was really strange, quite honestly. But they're like, here's your water. I'm like, what? And so they're like, yeah, don't drink the water on the ship. Drink this water. And I'm like, I thought it was strange. And at that time in my life, I didn't consider water anything that would be for health, anything that would be for anything, washing cars, taking a shower, and you're thirsty, right? Like,
well, and you're probably the average person doesn't think much about water, and yet it's such an important part of our body. In fact, what we were learning, it's second to air in terms of the most critical thing for our body, and yet we don't give any thought to the quality of it or how often we're having it.
I can tell you, every day I go in a restaurant because I'm on weeks of trip here, and they'll bring water out. That's what they do, and I'll say, "Is this tap water?" And they're like, I'd say 90% of the time, yes. And I'm like, please take that away. I don't want tap water. But that's what they serve every day, day in, day out. People are drinking in pesticides, drinking in blood pressure medication, drinking in Ritalin, drinking in whatever. It's all in that water, right? That's what's in the tap water. So, and I'm like, do you have any filtered water? And they're like, we have bottled water. And then I didn't ask for bottled water. Do you have filtered water? And they're like, they look at you funny. And I'll say, do you have a Coke machine, or where do you get your sodas from? And they're like, oh, yeah, we have that. I said, is there a water dispenser connected to that? And they'll say, oh, yeah. I said, can you give me water from there? And it's like this strange conversation where they just never thought of that before.
Yeah.
Like, why would I ever filter water, right? So they'll bring the water over. And then it'll be, most of the time it's good. There's been some times where I taste that water and I'm like, it smells like mold and tastes like mold. And then you get the sodas, they're all mold. So in their filter, they haven't replaced it for a while. So it's mold in the filter, and you're drinking sodas and water. So it's a crazy thing that we're still serving tap water to every human that comes into a restaurant, and people don't give it a second thought. Like, I'll sit with dinner with people and I'll say, okay, guys, I'm going to prepare you for this. And then I'll ask, and they're like, and afterwards they're like, oh my gosh, I never thought about this either. So it's a crazy thing, but 31% of the population drink tap water straight. And I'm like shocked because there is so much in water.
I'm actually surprised that it's that low. I would actually think of it as higher.
That's the studies.
Yeah.
That's at least what's accepted is 31%. No filtration, just straight out of the tap. And I'm like, do you not think about what's in your pipe?
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's being delivered to you with pipes that have rust in them.
Not to mention all the added fluoride, which is awful for us.
Fluoride. And then anything people dump in the toilet, expired medications, it's all going in your water. If you're not removing it, it's in there. Paint. Yeah, I mean, how many people grew up dumping paint? I mean, there's all kinds of stuff people are putting in toilets.
Okay, so your friends brought bottled water on the cruise. You thought they were crazy. Now you understand that it was important. Yes. And then what happened?
My wife drank the water, and within a day, she felt able to get up and around. And I was shocked because normally we would lose her 7 days.
Right.
So she was able to participate in that cruise. And I asked my friends, what the heck is this water? And of course they said, oh, it's alkaline water. And I'm like, okay, that can't be it. You know, changing the pH of water is never going to do anything for the body positively. In fact, it could harm the body. And so I was
So you're not a believer in alkaline water?
Oh, heavens, no. No. So, no, and there's not a study you can find that will ever support.
I saw a lot of them when Kangen was doing it, but okay.
They're all fake, or if you read the study, it's hydrogen. It's not actually the pH. So it might say alkaline water with hydrogen or alkaline water, and then you read the study, it's hydrogen gas. That was the mechanism, not pH. And so
whatever they were giving her must have had some hydrogen in it.
No, it didn't actually. But because there was hydrogen in the process, the ORP, what's called oxidation reduction potential of the water, had shifted, and that was enough to benefit her body. And so we went back home, and I was like, oh, great, that's cool. I didn't even think about it then. But 6 months later, her menstrual cycle was normal because we used to plan our whole month around when she was going to be on her cycle. And we all said, okay, when's your cycle? And she goes, oh, I'm on it. And we're like, what? You left the house. And so it was like, wait a minute, what have you been doing? And she goes, I've been getting that water. I've been going back and getting that water for 6 months. She was buying it then by the gallon. And so then, of course, I was like, okay.
There's something in water.
I've got to research this. And so it took me about 1.5 years. But I finally found the study, and it was hydrogen. It was hydrogen that was showing benefits. And so I started studying hydrogen, started understanding there was no product on the market that was hydrogen water. And so I started creating that later, and here we are.
The rest is history, as they say.
Yeah.
Well, it really has taken off, and I know that Gary Brecka is a huge proponent.
Yep.
Everywhere you look, he's talking about it. Tell me a little bit more about what is some of the feedback you're hearing from people that have been, drinking hydrogen water.
Better sleep. Yeah, that's usually the fastest thing. Brain and sleep is usually the first day. So within minutes of drinking the water, their brain has changed. If they have ADD, ADHD, they're clear. Even the craziest ones are people that have tremors. Within 10 minutes of drinking the water, their hands are almost still. That's pretty cool. Sleep that night, they'll say, I haven't slept like that in 10 years. And so that's good. A little bit down the road, typically diabetes, people that have blood sugar issues, pre-diabetic or diabetes.
So why would it be affecting sleep so dramatically?
Oxidative stress, inflammation. So that affects your sleep. It affects your brain. So, and when you have ghrelin secretions going to the brain, it calms the brain down. We have studies where they gave individuals are water, echo water, and within 3 to 5 minutes, you see a 32% plasticity change. You see cognitive function change. You see a 58% normalization of the brain. You see a brain that was overworking is now normal, and it's all within minutes. And it's because of ghrelin secretions, gastric ghrelin. And so hydrogen will stimulate ghrelin, and that's what's needed. So brain is rapidly changing. So people that are athletes, if they drink the water half an hour before they work out or half an hour before a game or whatever, they will have no exercise-induced muscle decline, very low fatigue levels. So they can go 5 times longer, many times without fatiguing. And then people that are working out, their recovery times are half. So big deal on those kind of things. Eyesight's a longer one. People report that their eyesight improved, but that's typically a few months.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So it's major systemic changes. It really pretty much changes you from the inside out.
Cholesterol, 15.5% reduction. That's a few weeks because you've got to offload oxidative stress. So then the body will take the cholesterol back because it puts it there in the first place as a patch. So a lot of things. We're learning more and more every day. We don't know everything, of course, but hydrogen is responsible for so much that there's not much going on in the body that is not affected by hydrogen.
Why did it take you? I mean, how come more doctors and more scientists are not talking about this? Why was this such a surprise?
It's a great question. And I'll tell you why it's a great question. When I started researching it, I found studies back to 1798. I found people talking about hydrogen as an antioxidant in 1798. Anthony Carlisle in London discovered water electrolysis in 1800, not because he wanted people to plate metals. It's because he was trying to figure out a hydrogen generator. Because he had learned 2 years prior, hydrogen was an antioxidant. So he was trying to find a way to get hydrogen out of water. And that's what water electrolysis, when he discovered it, that's what he was doing in 1800.
What is water electrolysis?
That's where you put 2 electrodes in water and create the bubbles. That's what a lot of these alkaline water machines are doing, is water electrolysis. And so Anthony Carlisle discovered electrolysis that if you put 2 electrodes in water, on the anode, you're going to have oxygen, and on the cathode, you're going to have hydrogen. And so that's how originally he was harvesting hydrogen to do studies and stuff. So nothing happened from that until 1930 when Mishisuwa in Japan, Dr. Mishisuwa, started doing research on rice cultivation. And then he moved to plants. And then by 1950, they did a human trial in Japan for 15 years, 1950 to 1965 in the hospitals. And they had these, what they called batch ionizers, and they called it Synol liquid. Dr. Mishisuwa named it. And effectively, it was just a vat of water and 2 electrodes in it. And they ran it for half an hour. And then they would give that water to people to drink. And after the 15-year human trials, they said that they cured improper fermentation in the gut, and that diseases were gone in the individuals that were there. And so it's very interesting because if you really understand the gut, if you cure improper fermentation, that means the gut's working properly. And so all your antioxidant pathways, all your immune function, all that's happening normally. And so it was amazing. And then what? Nothing. So what the heck happened? 20 years later, 1984, you had a company in Japan and a company in South Korea that started making alkaline water machines that were Panasonic later got involved, but there were 2 companies, one in Japan, one in South Korea, that started creating these machines. And at the time, that was the only way they understood how to make hydrogen was electrolysis. Well, as a byprocess, pH was changed. So everyone falsely assumed it was the pH of the water that was having the benefits, but it was actually hydrogen. And so the reason alkaline water machines became popular, and they assumed it was because of the pH, was because that was all they could study at the time. They didn't even understand hydrogen gas. They forgot what happened in 1800 with Dr. Carlisle. They were just thinking it was pH.
Yeah.
But that's why alkaline water machines became popular. And then later it was proven it has nothing to do with the pH. It was the hydrogen gas. That's when I came in and started talking about hydrogen gas. And really in 2009, when I began talking about it, Nature Medicine published the first study that blew everyone away on the fact that hydrogen was a selective antioxidant, only reaching and reacting with cytotoxic or cell-damaging radicals. The radicals that had a physiological role or were beneficial to life, it didn't touch. It only touched the bad radicals that caused damage. So that freaked everyone out. And that's why you now have 1,400 studies, because you watch the curve at 2009, after Nature published that study, people started studying. They're like, well, holy crap. If it's selective, what else does it do?
Yeah.
And they find all kinds of things because it's supposed to be in the body. And that's what
It's
we
just
need to
so
understand.
crazy because I just was talking to Dr. Fab about the whole Casey Means book that just came out that's put everybody on alert. You know, unless it's a drug they can sell you, you don't really hear about any of the advancements. So thank you. You know, God put you here for a reason, and we appreciate that. We do a little thing here called the big questions, which I ask the same questions to all of my guests to try to dig a little deeper and to find out more about the man, a little philosophical stuff. Do you have any consistent daily routines?
Yes. What I used to do is, and I have to get back to this, but this was my regime. Start with a prayer in the morning. I am a big supporter of, I believe there's a God, and I believe Christ, love Christ. And so that's what I do. So prayer in the morning, and then I would go down and do 20 minutes of basketball. Then I would work out, and then go in the steam room, and then shower and go. That was usually my day.
So prayer, movement, steam.
Yeah.
Good routine.
Yeah. And so, did that for a long time. I have all those things in my house, so it makes it convenient. I don't want people to think I went to 6 different places.
Right. No, we're all kind of becoming home biohackers too, right? Got all our equipment inside.
Right.
Tell me something that people would be surprised to know about you.
I was born in Alaska. So whenever I tell people that, like, you're an Eskimo. No, I'm not an Eskimo. My father was in the Air Force.
Okay.
And so he was in Florida, and his lottery number was 1. And he said, I'm either going to be going to Vietnam or I can go enlist. And he enlisted. They sent him to Eielson Air Force Base. He became a medic, an LPN, drove ambulance, and got trained in medicine. And so we spent years there at Eielson Air Force Base. And then he was stationed at Langley, and then he was done his 10 years. And then the rest of my life was in Florida. But yeah, people were like, what the heck? And the funniest part of where I was born, it was 15 minutes from Santa Claus's house. So literally.
Okay, that's the funnier story. You're Santa's neighbor.
Yeah. North Pole, Alaska. I was 15 minutes from there where I was born.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
What do you think is the purpose of life?
What do I personally believe? All right. I believe this life is for us to get this body and understand what we're going to do with it. We're going to help people or hurt people with this physical body. And I believe we have a spirit inside that is our eternal being. And we have this body to see what we'll do with it. And we have one opportunity to understand what it's like to create something, have children. And that's really the one thing we have in this life, that we can be a true creator. And
I did it.
Yes, me too. Well, my wife.
Times.
But I participated, right?
You get some credit.
Yeah. So, but literally, what do we do with that? Do we harm or do we love? Do we lift children or do we damage them? And we were all damaged. We all know that. None of us had the perfect childhood, but do we stop those behaviors and love and lift children and help them understand identity, eternal nature, right? Or do we continue the abuse cycle?
Yeah.
So that's what I believe.
Speaking of cycles, what in your opinion, what is the most pressing issue that we're facing in the world these days?
I believe one of the most misunderstood powers is forgiveness. And I think we don't forgive others the way we should forgive.
Mm-hmm.
I think we spend too much time trying to hold claim on other people's lives. And when that doesn't work out for us, we get bitter and vengeful and all these things. Whereas if we just said, I'm screwed up, they're screwed up.
Yeah.
I'm going to forgive.
Live and let live.
Yeah. And we're all kind of going through this process, maybe with less of a manual than we'd like, but let's just not hold claim.
Yeah.
Let's love and get out of the way.
My very last interview was with Pamela Gregory, who's a forgiveness healer. And she coaches on forgiveness and talk about the damage of unforgiveness.
Yeah.
Because we think that by forgiving somebody, we're somehow doing them a favor. And the reality of it is it's the biggest favor we can do ourselves,
Correct.
right? To let stuff go. I think that's a good one. Tell me about a piece of advice that you were given that has served you well in this life.
There's two, one for business and one for personal. How about that? So I always say in marriage, it's what's right, not who's right.
Mm-hmm.
And I strive to do what's right and not make it about who's right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's been good.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to business,
tell me why that's making you emotional, though.
Well, I just think that so many people have communication issues in their marriages, their relationships. They miss each other. And I actually teach a course on Wednesday nights, sometimes in my area where I live, about how to properly date and how to properly marry for eternal marriage. So what's called a celestial marriage. And so much of it has to do with communication. Because I think most women and men are speaking two different languages. And if you don't understand the language, it's no different than if it was German and Spanish. You're not going to understand each other. And when males and females can begin to understand what each other's saying and be able to interpret, it's a beautiful thing. It can be a peaceful thing. But when males and females don't understand what each other's saying, they're missing each other constantly. And the conflict that comes is unnecessary. Because most of the time they're on the same page, but they don't understand how to communicate that they're on the same page. And so it touches my heart because so many people are in toxic relationships because of communication breakdown. And yet, I know, and I've been in situations where I've done counseling with some of these, and I'll say, okay, tell the wife, tell him what you need. And she'll say something, and I'll say, what did you hear? And he'll say something completely different than what she said. And I'll say, no, that's not what she said. Is that what you said? She goes, no, that's not what I said. And I said, that's not what she said. Let me tell you what she said. Here's what she said. And he like, what? That's really what she said? And she goes, yeah, that's exactly what I said. And there's just a complete miss.
Well, I'll take it a step lower than that. You know, in the retreats that I do, I teach a lot about self-love because how you feel about yourself is how you're going to hear what people are saying. And if you're not feeling good about yourself, you can't really hear properly, right?
Oh, yeah.
So it basically comes down, in my opinion, the root of every good relationship starts with self-love.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have a good sense of self, you don't care about yourself, if you don't fully love yourself, you can't make a good relationship.
Yeah, and I would say it takes one of them in the beginning. My sweetheart, the love of my life, she did not trust men. I was 21 years old, didn't know what that even meant. I had no idea what it meant for a woman who didn't trust men because she'd been harmed. And I was young. I had no idea. I had to learn. I had to figure that out because I'm like, what is going on? And, you know, way back then, Robert Gray was the men are from Mars, women are from Venus, you know. And every Sunday I said to my wife, let's read a chapter and let's just talk about it, you know? And while it's not 100%, it gives you a lot of talking points and it gives you some great information to go, oh yeah, you do that, or you do that. Why do you do that? Oh, this is why I do. Oh, probably different than if I would have thought about why you didn't and came up with an answer, right? But my mother really instilled in me love of self and an understanding that if God approved what I was doing because I took the time to ask, then I'd be successful. And so I'm walking this path in that thought process and just probably naive too. Like the world is great, blah, blah, blah. My wife grew up in LA. I grew up in Gainesville, Florida. And she's like, no, the world's a dark place. You know, this, and I've had this life experience. And so, you know, it took me first probably 10 years of marriage before she loved herself. And she used to ask all the time, why do you even love me? And I cross-stitched a thing for her which said, the greatest gift I could give to you is to love yourself as I do. And I gave her that cross-stitch and she was like, what does that even mean? Right? Now, my wife had a very, very amazing experience many years ago and loved herself. And I happened to be in Europe at the time. And she called me. She's like, I need to talk. I need to apologize for some things. Because I realized some things. I realized what you've been telling me for 10 years, you know? So that's when she accepted self and learned that she loved herself and was comfortable in her own skin, which is still an evolving process, right? She then could accept love from me genuinely, not just on the surface, not just because I was saying it and my behavior was matching what I was saying, but she was able to actually accept that and not ask, why do you love me? Why? Now she's like, okay, I love myself, so I can understand why you might like me. So I just think there's so much misinformation and misunderstanding and misses in general that we could have some far more beautiful relationships.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, and I'm kind of passionate about it.
I see that, and I love that about it. Tell me something that you used to believe, but you don't anymore.
This is going to be hard for some people to hear. I used to
Why
believe,
the question is posed.
I used to believe, and I would say this from an employee perspective, because I've had a lot of them. I used to believe if you just invest enough love or lifting or whatever into another person, that they would change, and that's false. It's about them. It's not about you. Because if it was that way, God would just do it that way. But God doesn't even do it that way. He is there and ready. And when someone says, I'm ready, he's right there. And that's what I have understood I need to be, is you're there and ready, and you can teach and mentor, but until they're truly ready to accept or to change or to be an active participant in the process of life, nothing's going to happen. So
I heard it said, you can't love somebody for their potential.
Yeah.
You know, you have to meet people. I mean, you can see somebody's potential, but you have to address them of where they're at, because that may be the potential you see for them.
Correct.
It may not be the path that they're on.
That's right.
Or it may not be in the time frame that you want them to be in. So no, I so appreciate that and believe in that as well.
Yeah.
Good answers, Paul.
And the other one about business that I always advice was not to be so into your business or product that you're not listening to feedback. And a lot of people, it's like a child, right? People don't tell your baby's ugly, right? But maybe they could, you know, and you might not hear it because it's your baby. Well, people are the same way with their business. They don't want to hear their baby's ugly. And a business is like a baby, but we should be listening.
Yeah.
What do you mean by my baby's ugly?
Yeah.
Well, when you're not around, your baby says harmful things to other people and is kind of a jerk. Oh, I need to work on that then. I need to help my baby understand how not to be that way. But if we're not open to feedback, we miss the opportunity to mentor. And the same is true for products. If we're not listening to feedback, we can't affect change, and we can't make something better if we think it's perfect and we're unwilling to see that it can change.
Yeah.
So,
well, you know, it's that concept that everything is in constant flow state, you know, and it's relevant in everything. It's relevant in how we evolve as people. It's relevant in how we evolve in relationships. And it's also relevant in how we evolve in business and in products. Like, you have to be willing to flow with things and not think anything is stuck. Nothing's solid matter. Everything's energy, right? So that, I think it's a great piece of advice for sure. You know, you have basically created in industries. From a business perspective, what is your goal? What is your trajectory? What is your vision for taking hydrogen water?
I want to heal as many people as possible. That's my desire, and that's the metric. Is there are billions of people, and most of them have issues because of food and air and lifestyle and relationships and all kinds of things. Through one small little way where we can get hydrogen back into people and have their gut functioning and their immune function and their brain and all these things, we can have people accomplish their divine potential. And that's really what my desire is in all of this. So that's where I'm at. I'm just wanting to help and serve and love and lift. So,
well, you're doing a great job. Thank you so much, Paul. I so appreciated having you here.
Yeah.
Sharing all your knowledge. Let's start a revolution.
Yes.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Delphine Circle. Don't forget to subscribe. It's free and it will help us keep these incredible interviews coming your way. Here are 2 other episodes you may enjoy. I'm Delphine. Welcome to my circle.